Good evening. Welcome along to the Transfer Show. We are into the final stretch of the transfer window. While some clubs are working hard to get deals done, others, they're just chilling out and taking a step back. Kaveh and Damish are here to discuss it all. They're leaving it late, but has Jurgen Klopp secured the biggest signing of the window, leaving Antonio Conte frustrated once more? So this is where we start with Luis Diaz. Liverpool are bidding to complete the biggest Premier League deal of the window ahead of that deadline on Monday at 11 p.m. Kaveh, they have left it late, but it does seem out of the blue, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think Liverpool supporters are going to be absolutely delighted because Liverpool are very, very close now to signing Luis Diaz. And what is interesting is that he was Jurgen Klopp's first choice target for the summer. Liverpool weren't expecting that they would sign him this month. But basically what happened is that Spurs came in for him. And Spurs were very, very close to completing a deal to sign him. And basically the message was relayed to Liverpool. If you don't make your move now, this player is going to go to Spurs. And Liverpool have decided to make the move now. The deal is worth in total up to about £50 million. But I think the initial payment is only about £37 million, which Liverpool think is very, very good value. And what is going to happen now is, at the moment, I think a team from Liverpool are flying out to South America to complete this deal because the player is in Colombia. Colombia are playing Peru this evening, and then they're flying to Argentina because they're playing Argentina on Tuesday. So it's quite complicated to complete the deal, get the medical done. So we shouldn't expect this to happen in the next few hours. I think it's going to take 1-2 days to get it done, maybe even on Monday. But I think Jurgen Klopp will be absolutely delighted, and so will all Liverpool fans, because this is a player they wanted. He was their number one target for the summer, but they've managed to sign him early because of that strong, strong interest from Tottenham.
Not everyone will be delighted, though, will they, Damish? What about bringing in another striker? Could that leave Divock Origi and Takumi Minamino? What does it mean for them and other players that might be affected by this?
Yeah, I think, well, what Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp are trying to do is just that evolution, because you've got that front three of Salah, Mane and Firmino have been there for so long, entering the final 18 months of their contract, entering their 30s as well. And the likes of Takumi Minamino and Divock Origi, it's likely that Liverpool would listen to offers for those two players in this transfer window. If you look at Divock Origi, is into the last 6 months of his Liverpool contract. Minamino's got a bit longer. He's got a contract until 2024. And they've already rejected initial approaches for Minamino from Leeds and Monaco. They're still in full competition, so I don't think it will be the end of the world if they can't get transfer fees and transfers away from the club for these two players, because there still probably will be room for them to play games for the remainder of the season. But with this squad getting bigger, with the likes of Luis Diaz potentially, I think they would actually listen to offers for those two players.
And actually, what about looking further ahead as well with regards to Liverpool, Kaveh?
I think if you look at the transfer business they've done under Jurgen Klopp recently, it has been incredible, the signings that they've made. You know, not just players like Virgil van Dijk and Alisson, but just think about the fact that they sold Philippe Coutinho for £142 million, and for £150 million, they've managed to sign Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane, Diogo Jota, and also now Luis Diaz. And I think what has happened with Luis Diaz this season is that he's played twice against Liverpool in the Champions League for Porto. And during those games, Jurgen Klopp has seen something that he's liked a lot. And he's obviously said, this is the player for me. I don't think going forward it's going to mean that players are going to be leaving players like Mo Salah or Sadio Mane. They're in talks, for instance, with Mo Salah about him signing a new contract. I don't think Liverpool supporters should be worried. I think they should be excited because Jurgen Klopp made Diaz his #1 target, and he's managed to get him 6 months early for a price that looks very, very reasonable, £37 million plus £12.5 million in add-ons.
Yeah, so some very happy people up on Merseyside. But what about if we focus back down here at Tottenham, Dharmesh? 2 players in 2 days they appear to have lost out on.
They were in for Adama Traore from Wolves, weren't they? Looks like he's heading back to Barcelona. Medical tonight at Barcelona for a loan with an option to buy for £29 million. And now Luis Diaz. They were close, they think, to signing him. The financials looked good, but it just seems that Liverpool was his choice, was the player's choice. Look, it wasn't to do with the fee. They were willing to pay around €45 million up front plus €10 million in add-ons. The player simply wanted to play for Liverpool. Now, it should be noted here, though, Carve alluded to it there, that this is a long-term target for Liverpool, Luis Diaz. They had an interest in this player long before Tottenham Hotspur were thinking, let's go in for the player. So it's only when Tottenham started going in for the player, Liverpool thought, right, OK, look, we're going to have to bring ahead our planning for this player from the summer to now. But look, Tottenham are working on other targets and they're in talks with Juventus for a loan move for the Sweden international, Dejan Kulusevski. And there's no agreement yet in place. It's a loan at the moment and it hasn't been decided whether Tottenham will ask for an option on that loan just yet. But look, they are looking at other targets just now.
I mean, how do we think that Tottenham fans are going to be feeling? They're going to be pretty frustrated. And Antonio Conte as well. Is enough being done, do you think, to back him and give him what he wants?
I think if you speak to Spurs fans, they will say no. They're unhappy. They were expecting much, much more in this window. They want to see the board back Antonio Conte. The only thing I would say in defence of the Tottenham board is that this is a very difficult window to operate in, to sign the kind of players that Spurs need. They have tried to sign Traore. Have they tried harder? Should they have tried to sign him earlier in the window before Barcelona could have come in? Should they just have paid what Wolves were asking for? I think with Diaz, it's more complicated because if Liverpool come in for a player and a player has a choice between going to Liverpool or Spurs, at the moment, every single player is going to choose Liverpool. But, of course, the important thing is how does Antonio Conte feel about all this? People are watching him when he's being interviewed. He looks frustrated. Was he expecting more? Because he's made it clear that there's a big gap in quality and class between Spurs and clubs like Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City. It can't all be fixed in one window. It's going to take quite a few windows to close that gap. But I think most Tottenham fans will be saying, is this a wasted window? Should we have done more? Why are we leaving it late again? Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen in the next few days. Because behind the scenes, Spurs are working very, very hard to sign the players that Antonio Conte needs. But I think Spurs fans are very, very frustrated. And I don't know Antonio Conte's frame of mind at the moment. But a lot of Spurs fans are saying, look, if this carries on, are we going to get to the situation where Antonio Conte just thinks in the summer, this is not for me, I want to walk away? Because in the past, we have seen him leave clubs when he feels that he's not being backed enough.
Goodness me. Right. It is just over 3 days of the window left. It's going to be a very busy weekend, and we hope it is. If Tottenham fans are worried, goodness me, it's actually the same, isn't it, across North London. Dharmesh, Arsenal, they have got a big decision to make over Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Where do we stand with this?
Look, the Arsenal squad are warm weather training in Dubai, and they left Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang back in London. And we know now that Juventus and Barcelona have approached Arsenal about the loan signing of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. There's no offer yet, and this is a difficult deal to do, simply because Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang's wages on what remains of his 18 months of his contract are around £350,000 a week. We do know that he would prefer to go to a top European club, and we know that Marseille, PSG, AC Milan, Sevilla, they were interested as well. But now these approaches have come in from Juventus and Barcelona. I think Arsenal would prefer the deals that were on hand with the Saudi Arabian clubs, Al Nassr and Al Hilal, because they know that they would be covering the whole of the wages. They pay a loan fee, they pay an obligation fee come the summer. And if you look at Aubameyang's contract, 18 months left, that could provide a saving of around £25 million. But I just think out of Juventus and Barcelona, the key to this deal could be another club, and that's Atletico Madrid. Because Juventus have just announced that they've signed Dusan Vlahovic. And in an ideal world, they would want to cut short the loan of Alvaro Morata, who is an Atletico Madrid player. If they can do that, then they can bring in Aubameyang to play alongside Vlahovic. Right. Now, if Atletico Madrid say no, he's going to stay with you, then Barcelona maybe then can come in for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. But it's all intertwined with Barcelona and Atletico Madrid as well, because Alvaro Morata, he would actually like this loan to be cut short, go back to Atletico Madrid, but then make a loan move to Barcelona. Okay. That remains to be seen whether Atletico Madrid would want to do a deal like that. But look, as it stands, no offer. And first and foremost, Arsenal and another club have to agree, and then Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang has to agree to a deal. So with only 3 or 4 days left of this transfer window, given the magnitude of the money involved with Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang's contract, this is a very difficult and problematic deal to do. Difficult, but not impossible.
I think it's a really big risk for Arsenal to let Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang leave on loan in the next few days if they don't have a replacement lined up. Because Arsenal fans are saying, look, are we really going to go into the second half of the season with only Lacazette and Nketiah as our forwards, 2 players who are both out of contract in the summer? Surely we can't let Aubameyang go if we're not going to get somebody else in. We missed out on Vlahovic, of course, so we need somebody else. Of course, the other thing that could happen is that Mikel Arteta and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang kiss and make up. Is there any way back? Is there any way back that Mikel Arteta would say, OK, you know, you've served your time out, you've had your punishment, now we need you, we need the real Aubameyang back, we need your goals, we need to finish in the top 4. Can their relationship be salvaged? I'm not sure it can, but I just think it would be a really, really big risk to let him leave and then just be left with Lacazette and Nketiah.
Carver makes a good point there. There's such uncertainty in Arsenal's forward line at the moment with Aubameyang, Lacazette and Nketiah. Last 6 months of their contract. Folarin Balogun wants to get more regular first-team football, as Arsenal want him to do. He's gone on loan to Middlesbrough. Now, it just seems that this is against the backdrop of a January transfer window when clubs always find it quite difficult to get long-term targets done in January. Now, Arsenal do have a lot of long-term targets, particularly in the striking positions. And normally they would think in the summer is when we can probably go for them more easily than midway through a season, because clubs are quite reluctant to let big players go in the middle of a season. But what did happen was one of their targets was available in January, and that was Dusan Vlahovic. And it can't be blamed on Arsenal simply because Vlahovic had his heart set on Juventus, and he's got his move now from Fiorentina to Juventus. So Arsenal intention is to sign a big player, and they've got long-term targets, but it just seems that the ones that they want to bring in maybe won't be available until the summer. Hence, we've got this position that they're in.
Do you think there's a way back for Aubameyang if he just refuses to leave on loan? If the window closes on Monday and he's still an Arsenal player and he's getting paid, what, £350,000 a week, do you think Mikel Arteta will continue to leave him out of his plans, or would it get to a stage where he'd think, look,
the question you've got to ask, the question you've got to ask is, has it got to that stage already? If you look at the last 7 weeks, it's been a pretty dismal time. If you're Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, stripped of the Arsenal captaincy, first of all, he hasn't been in any Arsenal squad for their last 10 games in all competitions, and now he's been left out of this warm weather training squad out in Dubai. It just seems that the direction of travel would be Arsenal are listening to offers, and if they can get a deal that suits all parties before Monday at 11 o'clock, I think they will try and do it.
Right, we'll be back with you with gents, but as you can see, the breaking news and the news that the boys have been telling us about, Dusan Vlahovic has signed for Juventus. He was a potential target for Arsenal, of course, but he's completed that move, £62.8 million from Fiorentina. And just like that, Damesh and Kave have been completely outnumbered by women in the studio.
About time.
I know. And that is because, of course, the WSL transfer window closed yesterday. Delighted to say we have been joined by Tottenham head coach Rhian Skinner and Reading manager Kelly Chambers. Delighted to have you, and you're going to be here for the hour discussing many topics, but great, isn't it, that the women's game had its focus. We've been talking about these transfers, going through some of these names, making their moves as well, and making sure that there are names to look out for the rest of the season. Rhian, starting with you, we've got Victoria Schneiderbeck.
Well done. Well done.
Okay.
Spot on.
Right.
Better than I could have done it.
Controversially crossed the North London divide, though, to join you. It's on loan from Arsenal, but what's she going to bring to the squad?
I mean, Vicky is a fantastic, experienced player that's the Austrian national team captain. She's played a lot of football in a lot of different countries and has shown her quality at the highest level of the game for a number of years. For us, she's going to help us from an in-possession perspective. She's excellent on the ball, and it'll add some technical quality, and her leadership skills and her reading of the game will certainly add huge value to the direction of travel that we're trying to take.
Absolutely. And Kelly, Reading brought in Hassane Trollsgaard as well. What's she going to offer?
Yeah, one, experience, definitely, but somebody that I believe our game over in this country is a lot physical than maybe some other leagues, and she definitely brings that. And she loves to attack, she loves to score goals, and you see that for Denmark, playing a bit higher at the pitch. So yeah, she's definitely brought a hell of a lot of strength to our squad.
Were you surprised with how many deals actually went through when it came to that deadline yesterday?
Yeah, I was saying to Rhian, this is probably the busiest January window I've ever known, being in this league, and what a great way to advertise it now. We're on Sky Sports as well, but yeah, this is definitely the busiest I've ever seen it.
What does it feel like as a manager, having to, of course, still prepare your team for games, work, of course, with bringing players in, look at moving forward and how you integrate these new players into the side? How busy is it?
Incredibly busy, yeah. I think the biggest thing is, obviously, there's a lot of planning that goes in for a number of transfer windows. So, you're obviously looking at strengthening the squad, certainly for us, in every single window that comes available. So there's a lot of prep to get you to that point. When you get to that stage, we're not the only people looking at certain players and things like that. So, inevitably, there's a lot of back and forth that goes on, and you're just trying to make sure that you secure the players that you think will strengthen your squad. So it's tough in and around, the busyness of the league as well, but it's important,
Crack on now, can't we, as well?
Yeah, we can, yes.
Yeah. Right, coming up next, we're going to discuss what has been a disappointing January for Arsenal so far, more of that, and news of more outgoings at Manchester United.
We're all in. We're all in to kick it out.
Right, welcome back. We were expecting a bit of a dramatic window for Newcastle United. It certainly turned out that way. But Damash, what's the latest with Bruno Guimarães?
That's pronunciation again, isn't it?
Slightly better than
This is very, very, very close now. Steve Nixon, the head of recruitment at Newcastle United, is in Brazil to finalise that deal from Lyon to Newcastle United. Medical expected soon. He's in Brazil because Guimarães is on international duty with Brazil. The deal itself, I'll break down the numbers. It's 40 million euros initial payment plus 8 million euros in add-ons. And those bonuses are based on player performance and also if Newcastle United stay in the Premier League. Now, we reported that a deal was actually agreed on Wednesday, only for Lyon to publicly say on their social media accounts, categorically denying that a deal had been agreed. It's since emerged that we think that the initial fee was agreed, but there was still a bit of argument about over how much add-ons would be included in that deal. One contact had said to me that Lyon wanted as much as 10 million euros, but was still confident that Newcastle would fill the gap. And I think they've met Lyon closer to 10 million euros, but it's turned out to be 8 million euros. So around about 48 million euros this deal is worth. And by all accounts, it's a fantastic signing for Newcastle United.
OK, we know as well Newcastle are in... They want a centre-back, don't they? Any updates on this? And Diego Carlos as well, definitely that's dead in the water.
It looked like yesterday there was no chance that Newcastle United would be able to get Diego Carlos. Sevilla coming out and saying it's over, he's staying with us. Newcastle made bids for him, but just wasn't enough. We're not letting him go. The information I had today is that there is still a small chance that this could happen. The window is still open until Monday night. People are still working on trying to make this deal happen. But of course, the big problem is the two sides are so far apart. My information is that Sevilla would not take anything less than 45 million euros. I think Newcastle have offered about 30 million euros. And Sevilla have basically said, it's over, we're walking away. The player's not for sale. I don't want to get anyone's hopes up. I still think it's unlikely that this deal will happen in the next few days. But I was just warned earlier today, don't say it's totally out of the question. There is still a small chance that it could happen.
For everything Carve said about Diego Carlos, I think you could repeat about Jesse Lingard as well, because that looked off. It still looks off, but it's a case of never say never as far as Jesse Lingard to Newcastle United is concerned. The reason this one broke down was Newcastle did offer a loan fee. They did offer to pay Jesse Lingard's wages, but Manchester United wanted an extra bonus if Newcastle United stayed in the Premier League. So we think that the initial loan fee was around £2.5 to £3 million. But if Newcastle stay in the league, then Manchester United wanted an extra £7, £8, £9 million to be paid as a bonus, because the feeling is he's helped you stay in the Premier League, and the amount of money you will get by staying in the Premier League is 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 million pounds. So we want a slice of that. What Carve was mentioning about Diego Carlos just sounds a little bit like brinkmanship, and it's a word that we use the closer we get to deadline day. And it could be the case with Jesse Lingard, because if Jesse Lingard still wants to go, which by all accounts he does, he would welcome the opportunity, we think, to talk to Newcastle and move to Newcastle. Manchester United may just think last minute, look, we're not going to get any money from him. He doesn't want to sign a new contract. He's a free agent in the summer. Let's see what kind of deal we can do with Newcastle.
Doesn't this make it a bit difficult when you're a club with big money and people now know that? They know how much they've spent already. They know how much they can still spend. And they're just trying to grab hold of the players that potentially they might want to sign towards the very end and just have to give in and maybe pay over the odds.
That's a very good point. I think as far as Newcastle have been concerned this window, they haven't really gone out and thrown money around left, right and centre. If people were thinking that they were going to act like they're the richest club in the world, which they probably are at the moment, then that's not what Newcastle have done. They've signed Kieran Trippier, which I think was quite an easy deal to do because the player wanted to come back to England. Chris Wood, a few eyebrows were raised that they paid £25 million for a 31-year-old. but I think that was his release clause. They went ahead and did that. I think Bruno Guimarães, the kind of numbers being talked about there, that is sensible, really. 35, 40 million pounds for a Brazilian midfielder who is very, very highly rated. So I don't think Newcastle are just going to throw money around. They want to get the message out to other clubs that, look, we are going to be careful. But with Jesse Lingard, I just think my personal feeling is that it just feels a bit like Manchester United are pricing him out of a loan move to Newcastle United by asking for so much. And I agree with Darmish. I think on Monday, maybe they'll drop their demands. Maybe that's why Newcastle are letting it be known that, look, we're walking away, we're not paying that, hoping that Manchester United will call them back on Monday and go, OK, let's do a deal, let's compromise.
One thing I would say as well, Manchester United are almost the victims of that the other way around, aren't they? When they go in for a player, they tend to have the Manchester United premium put on to a transfer fee. So it's quite funny to see that the boot's on the other foot and it happens to be Manchester United going to Newcastle. Oh, you've got a lot of money, so this is what the deal we want to do.
OK, right. So Newcastle's still working on deals. And Eddie Howe is hopefully will add further to his squad before Monday's deadline.
From my perspective, I don't imagine that would be the end of our interest in bringing new players in. Whether that turns into reality, who knows? But things change very, very late in this window, as everybody knows. It can be quite unpredictable the last couple of days with lots of different things maybe happening that you didn't expect. So we're open. We're working hard to improve the squad is our biggest aim and give the team the best chance of staying in the league. That was our aim at the beginning of January, and that won't change right through.
OK, so we shall soon find out whether the deals will be done and if they make any more signings on Monday. But one that I guess took us by surprise was our top story, Liverpool's pursuit of Louise Diaz. Ladies, have you ever been in a situation where a long-term target you might be looking at in the future suddenly becomes available and you've maybe got to scramble to try and sign them or bring her to your side or try and have these discussions a little bit prematurely, I guess, Rianne?
I think, to be fair, I've only been in for a couple of transfer windows, so in terms of long-term targets, it's not been something that I've experienced at this point. But, you know, obviously, if you have somebody on your radar that you're really interested in signing and that becomes available, you know, naturally you'd move heaven and earth to try and get that deal done to ensure that they come into the club, because it's clearly someone that you want, that you feel is going to strengthen the side. And I think when you work a few transfer windows ahead, financially you know that you're planning to do that anyway. So if that timeline moves up a little bit, then, you know, if the player's important to the club, the player's important to the club.
And what about you, Kelly, in terms of you've got players, you know who you want, you know how you might improve your squad, but then suddenly they either can't come to the club, another team comes in. Have you been in these situations before when you've had to try and...
Yeah, of course. Sometimes you obviously have your number one target, and then I think, especially in recruitment, you kind of have a second and maybe a third that you might go after if that one doesn't quite, or you're having those conversations already. But yeah, it's not nice when you don't get someone that you want at that time, but you've always got to be prepared for that and ready for the next step.
Absolutely. OK, we're going to get plenty more from you in just a moment. Wayne Rooney has revealed he turned down an approach from Everton to discuss the vacant manager's job. Vitor Pereira and Frank Lampard are currently holding final round of talks.
Everton approached my agent and asked me to do an interview for the vacant job, which I turned down. I think, as I've said, I believe that I will be a Premier League manager. I believe I'm ready for that 100%. And if that is with Everton one day in the future, that would be absolutely great. But I've got a job here. I'm doing the Derby County, which is an important job to me.
OK, we're going to be heading to a break very shortly, Carly, but quickly, where are we with Everton's search for a new manager? What do we know?
Well, we know that they were talking again to Vitor Pereira and also Frank Lampard today. And we are expecting a decision maybe as early as this evening. We've been told that the Everton board are meeting this evening, and we could get that decision about who their manager is going to be as early as maybe straight after this programme. Who knows, maybe even during this programme. But the candidates, of course, are Vitor Pereira, Frank Lampard and Duncan Ferguson.
OK, coming up, news from all 20 Premier League clubs, and we take a closer look at Luis Diaz and where he could fit in at Liverpool.
It's time now to go round the clubs.
Certainly is. Juventus and Barcelona have approached Arsenal over the signing of striker Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang on loan.
Sky in Italy are reporting that Juventus have rejected a bid worth more than £20 million from Aston Villa for midfielder Rodrigo Betancourt.
Brentford in talks with Hull City over a deal for winger Keane Lewis Potter.
Newcastle remain interested in Brighton defender Dan Burn, but are yet to match the club's valuation of the player. An initial bid of £7 million was rejected.
Burnley interested in signing Wolfsburg striker Wout Weghorst. They're close to completing a deal for Dinamo Zagreb winger Mislav Orsic.
Reports in Spain that Real Madrid want to sign Chelsea captain Cesar Azpilicueta if he becomes a free agent in the summer. Barcelona also very keen to offer him a long-term deal.
Crystal Palace remain in talks with Manchester United over the loan signing of Donny van der Beek.
Everton could make a late move for a midfielder before the window closes. There's been interest in Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Douglas Louise and Tongi Ndombele.
Leeds United's approach for Liverpool forward Takumi Minamino has been rebuffed.
Leicester City want to keep Hamza Chowdhury despite interest from a number of other Premier League clubs who want to take him on loan.
Liverpool are pushing to sign Porto winger Luis Diaz in a deal worth €60 million.
Manchester City closing in on a £17 million deal to sign River Plate striker Julian Alvarez. He's been a major City target after being watched closely by their South American scouts.
Manchester United forward Jesse Lingard's proposed move to Newcastle is unlikely, but not impossible.
Newcastle head of recruitment Steve Nixon is in Brazil today to complete the signing of Bruno. A deal has been agreed with Lyon, which could be worth up to £40 million.
Norwich attacking midfielder Todd Cantwell could yet leave in the remaining days of the window. His contract is up in the summer. Norwich have a one-year option.
Southampton still in talks to sign Chelsea midfielder Tino Anjorin. He's been on loan at Lokomotiv Moscow.
Tottenham in talks with Juventus over the loan signing of Swedish international Dejan Kulusevski.
It looks like Watford have done their business for the window. 4 players have come in. Small chance they may go in for a centre-back.
West Ham United are interested in signing Reims striker Hugo Ekitike.
And finally, Adama Traore has been in Spain to complete his loan move to Barcelona. They have a £25 million option to buy in the summer.
Now, we mentioned Luis Diaz there, and I've been looking at why he is in such high demand. So he's having a really outstanding season at Porto. He scored 14 goals in 18 league appearances, as you can see here, which is more than anyone else in the division. And he also ranks top for touches in the opposition box and shots. Now, he's creative as well. His total of 39 chances created is the second highest in Portugal this season. And I think that bottom statistic is significant as well. Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool puts a lot of emphasis on pressing opponents high up the pitch, and Diaz really excels in that sense. He ranks second in terms of possession, 1 in the final third, as you can see. So, where would he fit in at Liverpool? Well, like Sadio Mane, he plays on the left side of the attack, where he can cut inside onto his stronger right foot. Now, there aren't many players operating at Mane's level, but you can see here why Liverpool have gone for Diaz. In League and Champions League games since the start of last season, Diaz and Mane actually have the same exact numbers for goals and assists. And what's really impressive about Diaz is that he has reached those totals in considerably fewer minutes. He also creates more chances than Mane per 90 minutes and makes more successful dribbles per 90 minutes as well. Now, of course, we have to factor the strength of the opposition into that. The Premier League is a lot stronger than the Portuguese league, but Diaz certainly looks like someone capable of making a big impact in that Liverpool attack.
Oh, goodness me. Welcome back. We've got Rianne and Kelly with us. Obviously, big day with the WSL deadline day, of course, finishing yesterday. Goodness me. Let's talk about what's happening in the men's game at the moment, because, of course, keeping an eye on both. And just looking at Rianne, I want to chat to you first about the situation with regards to Arsenal and Mikel Arteta and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang potentially staying at the club. Maybe he's going to leave.
Yeah.
What do you make of this whole situation with such a big club like Arsenal? It's the first time, you know, they could be qualifying for Champions League football since, what, Arsene Wenger left. That's how long it's been.
Yeah, I think obviously, you know, the club's done really well and it's in such a good place. It seems a shame really that there's a situation where there's obviously a bit of a relationship breakdown that's led to the situation that they're in at the moment. But, you know, I think if he ends up staying with a player of that quality, you kind of hope that there's a bit of time spent developing like the relationship as to what's actually gone on and finding ways to kind of overcome that, because you'd certainly want him in your team. You know, he's a really effective player that they can utilise to maximise their opportunities to get Champions League, you know. So I think, yeah, hopefully they can figure it out if he stays where he is.
How hard is it when you've maybe got a player that you know doesn't want to be there anymore, or doesn't want to play for you for whatever reason, and having to manage that situation?
Yeah, I think like, obviously at the moment they don't know whether he's staying or going, and that's probably why he's been left in London at the moment. But if he does get to stay, I think they've got to work out a way of how it's going to work, and I think that would be solely between the manager and the player themselves. Is how we're going to get through this period, how we're going to get the best out of each other for the best of Arsenal, or best for the club that they're at.
Have you ever been in a situation like that? Or?
I can't say I have, no.
Oh.
No.
No. And it's preparing yourself for potentially one day that might happen to you, and it's kind of trying to manage the emotions of it, the relationships, and how that is as well, particularly in the women's game, which obviously I think it's slightly more close-knit when you're a manager with your players as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, for as much as you can try and get ahead of the game with those sorts of things, I think the culture you create, the environment that the players are in, I think if you can have those really good dialogues like all the way through the time that the players are with you, then with any luck you can try and preempt anything that's coming to the point where you feel like it could become an issue. But it's easier said than done. You know, there's a lot of work that's got to go into that. But certainly I think, you know, in this situation, there's ways of working around it. Like Kelly said, I think it's just got to be a sit-down conversation, and hopefully they can figure out a way of being successful together, you know, for whatever happens in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. OK. Plenty more to come on the Transfer Show. News on Tanguy Ndombele, Rodrigo Bentancur, and Douglas Louise is on the way as well.
We're all in to kick it out.
then? Have your targets maybe changed since the beginning of the season with where you are in the table? You're 4th right now.
Yeah. No, I think for us, basically, we wanted to take every game as it comes. We wanted to make sure that we utilised this window and, you know, the players that we got in pre-season last year to develop the squad, to keep moving on the journey that we're on as a football club. And I think, you know, things have been progressing really positively. So we're really happy with where we are, but we've still got a lot of work to do, and we want to make sure that we keep moving forward in this second half of the season, which is often quite challenging.
And as for Reading as well, your hopes and aims for the rest of the season?
Yeah, we've been pretty much like Rhiannon, to be fair. It's like we've just taken every game as it comes. I think we've had a big change in player recruitment in the summer, and so we knew that we needed to bed those in. But I think you look at the league, it's so exciting now, and people have added to their squads, which has made it more challenging. So you can't try and aim where you want to get. You can't go, if we get these amount of points, you could potentially finish here. I don't think the league's been running long enough to be able to do that. So yeah, we're just taking every game as it comes, and we want to finish as high as we can.
Yeah. Speaking of every game, games coming thick and fast, and we've got FA Cup action as well to look forward to next, which is pretty exciting. How different is it preparing your side for a cup game to WSL?
I just think, you know, the FA Cup's historic, isn't it? You know, the culture around the English game, and the FA Cup's such a big part of that, that I've never, you know, come across a player that doesn't want to play in that. And I think certainly the players that, you know, are from abroad get brought into that culture really quickly by all the other players in the team that, like, no, we need to do well in this game. Like, it's really important to the club. And so, yeah, I think it creates a bit more excitement. And it's, yeah, we're looking forward to our game for sure.
And actually, the money that comes from it, OK, it's not as much as the men's, and that is a big problem.
That's another subject.
I mean,
yes.
this is a whole programme for another day.
Yeah.
But 2% of the prize fund awarded, so £25,000 for the women's game compared to 1.8 million for the men's game. It is changing. Let's hope there's even more positive changes, and that number is upped, particularly with the interest in women's football. That's for sure, and the fact that it's growing. The FA, part of their problem, they didn't have women's football for a very long time, so you've been playing a game of catch-up. But how important are cup competitions with regards to money and that filtering down as well?
Yeah, it's huge, especially for the smaller clubs, not just the clubs in the WSL, but the ones that are doing really well right now and progressing in that competition. It's money for them to take for that season, for next season. But even clubs like us, we're not the biggest club in the WSL. We're probably one of the smallest in terms of having a championship men's side. So yeah, I think any income to the women's game right now is huge.
Yeah.
OK, for now, thank you very much indeed. It's been a pleasure to have you over here. We're going to head back to the boys in a moment. A reminder, not long until deadline day. You can catch every second of it, of course, from 7 o'clock in the morning right through to the deadline itself at 11 o'clock. Join us on Monday morning for transfer deadline day. Few minutes of the programme left. We're going to throw some names. We're going to start with Kave. What's happening with Ndombele?
Well, PSG are in talks to sign him on loan from Spurs. He's not in Antonio Conte's plans. Of course, if he goes to a PSG, he would be reuniting with his former manager, Mauricio Pochettino. And of course, if he goes to PSG, they would have to pay his wages, which are about £200,000 a week.
OK, Dharmesh, Rafinha made a huge impact at Leeds since joining in 2020. What's the latest there?
Just one to keep an eye on. It's just been said to me just now in the last hour or so that there's a number of clubs interested in Rafinha, which is not a surprise. Contract talks with Leeds are said to be positive. He's got a contract until 2024, but I'm told that West Ham United are one of the clubs that would be interested in the Leeds United winger Rafinha, and they are keeping, shall we say, an eye on his situation while those contract talks are ongoing.
OK, Kave. Douglas Louise staying with Aston Villa?
I think he is staying at Aston Villa. He's got 18 months left on his contract. Aston Villa want him to stay. There may be the possibility, I think, that contract talks will start with them about a new deal for him. But there is interest in him. We've been told that one Premier League club was ready to pay £32 million for him, but Aston Villa do not want to sell him. We know quite a few clubs are looking for midfielders, clubs like Arsenal and Everton, for instance, although we don't know if they were the clubs who were interested in signing Douglas Louise from Aston Villa.
Could Matty Cash be leaving, though, Darmish?
This is an interesting one. It's come from our reporters, Mark McAdam and Rob Dorset, and they say that Atletico Madrid have made contact with the representatives of Matty Cash, the Aston Villa defender. They are interested. A bid in this window has not been ruled out, but it's more likely they will try and go for Matty Cash in the summer. He's got 3.5 years left on his Aston Villa contract. But remember, Aston Villa actually went in the market yesterday for a right-back in Callum Chambers, and he joined from Arsenal. Maybe just one to keep an eye on that.
OK. Another one for you. Rodrigo Bentancur.
Yeah, this has come from our colleagues at Sky in Italy, and Juventus have rejected a bid worth over £20 million for Rodrigo Bentancur, and that's from Aston Villa. They want in excess of £21 million. That's up front, so there could be add-ons onto that as well. Tottenham also thought to be interested, but they want to go in with an initial loan, which Juventus aren't interested in.
You've got Ekitike?
This is a name that we've been talking about throughout this transfer window, and West Ham United are interested in the Iran striker. One source claims that talks are underway. It would cost in the region of 30 to 35 million euros. Newcastle, of course, wanted to sign him earlier on in this transfer window. He's got 8 goals in 10 starts for the Ligue 1 club, and he's had 2 red cards as well.
OK, that's enough of you for now. Thank you very much indeed, gents. Thank you to Kelly. Thanks to Rianne as well. Thank you for watching. There'll be a special programme pre-deadline day, 6 o'clock, Sunday night. Be there.